All right, we are back. Final day, and really running out of time here to get things done. I did quite a bit of work off stream, just trying to get as much done as I could while I had the focus. So where we're at now, I have a background. This is just a basic shader that infinitely scrolls the texture. You saw that fade in. I have the scene transition system copied over from one of my example projects. It's not very complicated though. It's basically just a scene that fades in and out and emits signals whenever it's faded in and out. And then another scene which handles adding or removing scenes or nodes from the scene tree and listening to the signals from that fade to control when to add and remove them. I did some restructuring of the code, so now everything main just has a reference to the scene handler, which is what handles the transitions, and it has a what would you call it, a variables for all of the packed scenes of the different things you can transition to, and it listens to them. Really, other than that, not a heck of a lot else different here other than creating a lot of menus. I did make this little sign. All of this still placeholders. Honestly, I would have more done, but there were a lot of bugs to work out with the scene transitioning system. I tried to recreate it from memory, and that wound up being a mistake. Well, actually, that's not true. That wasn't the main problem. The main problem was the inevitable issue of pausing and unpausing the scene tree, causing weird issues with some of the menus locking up, and that code I put into the player to constantly reacquire the mouse was getting called after it already transitioned to a different scene, and you'd end up with the main menu not being clickable because the mouse was still invisible, and it was a whole pain in the ass. So that's gonna hurt the monetization of the stream. No, it should be fixed now. I think I've got all that worked out. A lot of it was honestly just really hacky use of call deferred to try and clean this up. But you can now open settings and it will detect whether or not it was open from the main menu or the game. So that changes whether or not the menu button is there. There's a credit screen that doesn't have anything in it yet. So the core parts are there, but there's no level. So that's the main thing that needs to be worked on today. There is no level. I'm not going to worry about theming just yet. A lot of stuff needs to be cleaned up. A lot of textures need to be made. I need to get my background music going. There we go. So I'm not going to worry too much about most of that. Here's the transition stuff. I'll worry about the theming as and when it matters, but right now the main issue is that I need an actual level and I need to finish the gameplay. So the biggest problem right now is that I still only have one type of chair, so I need to go in and make a few more types. Thinking about it, I think I'm just going to do 3. The bounce chair, which I think I'm going to do is one of those just gray exercise balls. I think for gameplay reasons, as much as I like the chairs just floating in the middle of space and how surreal that looks, I don't think that's going to work the best gameplay wise. So what I think I'm going to do is make a couch that hovers, and that's going to be the platform that you can place chairs on. And then the chairs are just going to be rigid bodies. So first things first, we're going to go into chair, if I can find it, and we're going to change that to be a rigid body. But we also, remember, have to fix the collider, because this is not going to work as its collider. I did not like that at all. So we are going to quickly change this type to a rigid body 3D, and we're going to give it like 2 kilograms of mass. I don't think it matters. All of that should be fine. I'm not really worried about any of these options. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in the static layer, and we're going to have it collide with the static layer. Probably would be best to have a different layer. Well, it probably would be best to just rename that layer, but we'll deal with it. Okay, so now we're going to do multiple collision shapes here. And we're going to have that be how I manage this. Okay, so we're going to say the Z is 0.1. The X looks like it's probably 0.5. I think the Y also needs to be 0.5. It doesn't need to be perfect. We just need to get it close enough. Okay, and then I'm going to make that unique so we can do this again. And we're going to flip this so that's 0.1, that's 0.5. And just bring it down, bring it over. And we're just going to eyeball the positions here. Now, I was debating whether or not the feet should be individual feet or if they should be in just one solid block. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how the engine's going to handle the feet. Obviously, it didn't like the concave shape, so I don't know if that's specifically an issue only with it because it's a concave shape, or if that's a problem that's going to come up, you know, every time. It might be an issue that, or sorry, streamer brain mixed with panic is hitting me. I'm not certain if it's an issue that is specifically because you're using the concave shape, or if it's an issue because the colliders as a whole are concave. If it's an issue because the colliders as a whole are concave, then obviously that's not going to help me. If it's just a problem because the oh wait, did that update both of them? Oh, it did. Huh. I didn't think that would work. Okay, well, anyways. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that collision shape. And alright, theoretically the chair is now a physics object that can be dropped. And we will see. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, that did some weird stuff. Now you notice you can't move them. This is why on day one, when I was using the player code, there was that pusher component. This is the problem with move and slide on a character body, is that move and slide will cause you to stop the moment you hit anything, including a rigid body. And what you have to do is you have to fake rigid body forces. So you basically have to make a fake force that correlates to the mass of the player and how fast they're moving, and apply that to any physics object you touch as you're moving. And then similarly, if you want the physics objects to imply a force on you, you have to do something to calculate their well, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not even going to claim to be an expert on this, but you have to do something to make that work. Oh, whoops. I was like, how did the game end? I forgot that I have that extra apple down here for testing. I had that there for testing transitions. Yeah, I will say it's not great that you can't exactly tell where these are going to go, but it does kind of work. This is still the issue, is that the chair, whenever you're holding it, it's not clear where it is in world space. Especially when it's like that. But this does work. These are actually more stackable than I thought they'd be. I didn't think you'd be able to do this well with them. Okay. Yeah, see, like, I couldn't tell that that was far away or close. That's definitely going to be a problem with these. Okay, there we go. That looks good. I mean, we'll figure that out as we go, but that works for a basic prop. I'd say the physics weight in that feels fine. I'm debating adding some kind of blob shadow underneath it whenever you're placing objects to show where it is, and see if that is enough to make it work. But until then, we're going to go ahead and make a new one. So we're going to do a couch, and this is the hover couch. Okay, and we're going to do first the placeholder and the mesh. So we're going to start with a 3D scene, and this is going to be the hover couch placeholder, and we're going to add a CSG combiner and then CSG box, and we're going to say that this thing is like I don't know, 0.5 maybe, 0.4, something like that. Do like 1.5 or maybe even 2 wide. Z looks fine to me. And then we're going to do another one, and then this one we're going to do a Z of like 0.2 maybe. We're going to bring that back, and Y will maybe do like 0.6. And I'm going to tilt this ever so slightly. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and add some edges to it. So we'll do these as like 0.2 and 0.15 maybe. And we'll make the height like 0.8. And yeah, I mean, that kind of works. It looks more or less like a couch. Do negative 1.1, I think. No. We'll do 1 point. I guess we'll just do -1. Well, would it be 1.8? No, not 1.8. 1.08, I think. I will do like 1.07, I think. And then we'll duplicate that one, and we'll just flip this around. Okay, and yeah, I mean, it's not great, but that should be good enough to start with. And then we're going to set a material override on that. I actually think that these are probably too tall, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this to placeholder couch mesh, and we're going to save this there, and then we're going to do a different scene for the hover couch placeholder, and we're going to add a mesh instance to this. Now on this, we are going to I want to bake the mesh instance, but I don't want to lose that. So let me, yeah, okay. I don't really have a choice here. I have to bake the mesh instance, so we'll do that. Oh wait, no, okay, it's still there. Perfect. All right. So then we're gonna save the mesh as the couch. I didn't want to lose the original, just in case I still needed it. So we're going to also, let me quickly set the material on that. We'll just set that, whatever, and then we'll save it. And we're gonna do couch mesh. Okay. Okay, so now that should be fine. So now here, we're going to load the couch and we're going to override the material to the placeholder material. And go back up to the scenes, to the props, to the hover couch. That's the hover couch placeholder. And now we're going to do a new one. And then this one is going to be a static body. And this is a hover couch prop. All right, we'll add a collision shape, and then we're also going to add the mesh instance. And we're going to load our hover couch mesh. And then we are also going to do create collision shape as sibling. And since this one is static, it should not be a problem. And then the last thing I need to do is go into the items, and we're just going to duplicate the chair. Okay. We're going to replace that with a placeholder texture of 24 by 24. And then we're going to change this to the placeholder for the couch. And we'll make that like 100. And then of course, the last thing I need to do is actually go into the store, and we'll add an element and then load the hover couch. Okay. Would help if I had some money. All right. Okay. Of course, I don't have enough money to... Okay, yeah, that feels like a decent size. I feel like you've got enough room to work up here. This is why I wanted the couch to be the thing that hovers, because the couch will allow you to place stuff on it, and you have a big flat area to work with, whereas the chairs are, I think, are going to be a lot more tedious to deal with. Okay. Well, 30 minutes, and we've got 3 items now. Or 2 items, what am I talking about? That already is probably good. I think, though, I want to go ahead and start... Well, okay. One thing I want to do first is I also need more types of fruit. Although I may drop that idea that fruit gets more valuable as you go up the tree, but we'll see. This doesn't really need to be there anymore. That probably is fine. Unless I change the shape of the chair or the couch, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Okay. So for the fruit, I'm going to need a different fruit. I think I want one that's like blue and another that's purple, maybe. I'm half tempted to use some of the assets I have. So I've got... Where was that at? In the 3D assets for Kenny. Yeah, okay, here we go. Food kit. Yeah, so we have like grapes. Yeah, a lot of these are a little higher resolution than I really want to work with here. Even the apple is maybe pushing it a little too far. The orange, though, I mean, I don't really need that one. I don't really want to do green, so a pear is probably not a good idea. The grapes are tempting, though. So let me go ahead and actually grab those. So we go into OBJ. See if we can find these wherever they've gone off to. Oh, there they are. And we'll just dump those into the meshes. I believe I think at some point, it was probably when I was refactoring the code, I believe I did rename the fruit to basic fruit. So we'll just take a quick double check on that. Let's see here. Yes, we have basic fruit. So we're going to do a new one, folder for, I don't know, we'll call this high fruit. And this will be our high value one. And let me see, what all did I... Okay, yeah, I literally just did a scene. Let me double check to see what all is supposed to be in it. Okay, so it's a health component, death component, credit component, mesh instance. Okay. So we'll call this high fruit drop. Health component, death component. Credit component. And I think that's just a 1 or 0.5 radius, looks like. And we'll do, nope, wrong thing. Sphere. There it is. 0.5, yep, okay. And we'll wire this stuff up. Death component. Okay, and then it's just the mesh. So we will add a mesh instance. Okay, that's just the environment making it look different colors. Although I do need to move that down some, it looks like. I also probably need to make that bigger. I think I'm gonna switch this to non-uniform scaling though. We're gonna do like 1.5, 1.5. Yeah, I kind of like the look of that more. Is the top blue? Okay, well, whatever. All right, let's come into here and let's add a high fruit. Yeah, it's about the same size. They definitely do not look like they came from the same assets, but we'll see what they look like in the engine. Yeah, I'd say that's fine. In engine, they look pretty similar. I think they logistically might need to be bigger, though. But, okay. Oh. And that fruit is only worth 1. That's not helpful. We're going to have this be worth... This is the highest one, so we'll do like 500. Well, okay, 500 is probably a little ridiculous. Well, we'll do like 250. I still have to figure out the economy. Okay, the main reason I wanted to do that is so that I could place these couches and figure out... Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what I was worried about, is it's really not easy to tell where these things are or how heavy they are, or where the legs are. Like, you can kind of tell, like right there, I can tell that it's on it, but it's not easy. Like, you can stack them, kind of. I'm actually surprised that worked. They're surprisingly stable when you get them stacked like that, but the problem is you can't see where they are. Everything just sort of blends in. And I think I already disabled vertex lighting. So I'm a little surprised at how that works. Yeah, okay, so this kind of works. And you can definitely stack them and get up fairly high. Yeah, you can definitely build your walkway. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it does kind of work. All right, just thinking through what I want to do here. I think this is a good start. Let me see how complicated it would be to, well, okay. First, while I'm here, let me go ahead and add the other kind of fruit. So we're going to say mid fruit for this. And again, these should really probably just be data driven because the fruit are all going to be the same, but whatever. So for the actual fruit I'm going to see if I can find the orange in here. Paprika? Surely that's a bell pepper. And now I kind of wish I was using the pineapple as the expensive one. Oh, a strawberry. That's perfect. All right. So for this one, we're going to, all right, we're going to start with the mesh instance this time. Then we're going to add a health component. We're going to add a death component, a credit component, and we'll make this worth like 150. And we'll do another sphere. Health component. We're going to move all this stuff around also while I'm here. Okay, death component. Okay, is everything wired up? It is. And then we'll load in the mesh for the strawberry. Oh yeah, that needs to be way bigger. Way bigger. And same story as the other one. It needs to be lower down. All right, I think I will use uniform for this one. Oh, it's got to be bigger than that. This thing's got to be like at least 3 times the size. I think honestly, even this basic fruit prop, I'm gonna make that like 1.5. Then for the grape, we're gonna relock it, and we're just gonna bump it up until that's 2. Yeah, that's looking better. And yeah, the strawberry I think should be fine. All right, and just add prop onto the end of that. All right. So now let me see if these all look about the same size. I mean, kind of. I think the strawberry could stand to be a little bit bigger. Okay. Let's make sure they're all working. Well, the strawberry is suspiciously gone. That's interesting. Let me move it back further from the others, just in case I accidentally touched it when I spawned. Okay. 50, 350, 500. Well, that's kind of funny. You can't actually tilt the couch. Like, angled. Huh. Alright, let me try something really quick. I think I need to go in and fix that on the couch. So on the placeholder and on the prop, I'm actually going to rotate these 90 degrees both. Yeah, okay, that way you can actually place it like a ramp if you want. I mean, it kind of works. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually kind of debating. That might not be what I want, because the fact that you can rotate it, I think honestly makes it a little too easy. I didn't realize that the way I had built the rotation, you're locked out of one axis. So I can do that, but I can't tilt it the other direction. The only thing I don't like is that it spawns facing this angle. I think that's kind of confusing. I want it to face this angle. Although I guess it doesn't matter, because whenever you rotate it, they rotate anyways. I mean, this does kind of work. Yeah, I do like, though, that you can flip the couch upside down and use it as a larger usable surface. Just with the caveat that you're not going to be able to stop a chair from sliding off of it now. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's 2 of them done. I think I'm going to take a quick break. I've got about 1 hour left to add the bouncy ball, which I think should be easy, and to implement the tree. And then I'm probably going to call the stream there. And then just heads down, try and finish everything else, all the polish. At this point, the polish is literally just adding sounds and maybe some extra animations here and there. As much as I'd like to do more, I realistically do not have the time, and I need to leave myself about an hour to an hour and a half to work on the store page on itch. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then we are going to desperately try and finish the bouncy ball and start trying to build a level out of this mess. All right, let's get back into it. So I think the easiest way to add the bouncy ball is to start by looking at the player code, also closing out all of this junk. I hope it's not junk. I just spent a ton of time making it. All right, so we'll take a look at the player code. And yeah, okay, so I'm literally just adding jump state.velocity. Okay. So for the bouncy ball, we're gonna go ahead and make a new script for that. So we're going to make a new folder in the components called bounce. And we're going to call that a bounce component. Bounce component. Yeah, actually, I guess. Well, we're gonna do an area for this. Actually, we're gonna rename that to a bounce area component, because I think the bounce component is going to be what the player is attached to. And just like with scoring on the credit component, we're going to copy all of that. And we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to use a different layer. I'm going to use like 16. You don't need to use different layers. You can detect if the thing you collided with is what you were expecting it to be. But for simple stuff like this in a jam, I think it's better for me personally to just use different layers because it avoids errors. And normally I would make the amount of bounce and that configurable, but we're just going to do that on the player. Again, we are running out of time here, so we're going to do this fast. Okay, so it's not monitoring. Okay, so now we're going to do a new script, and we're going to call this a bounce detector component, or bounce area detector. Well, you know what, we'll just call it a bounce component. And same thing, we're going to go into the score or the collector component. And we're just going to copy the whole thing. And we're going to change this to a bounce component. And ditch that. Call it bounce layer. We're going to make it 16. Okay. All right, and yeah, see, this is the way you can do it without layers, is just detecting it. So you can have like an interactables layer, and then you can detect the specific type of interactable, or even better, you can design your system where the action that happens is like a scriptable resource that's attached, and what happens is based on the resource, not the specific component that's detecting it. But that's getting into a whole different thing we're not going to worry about right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put bounce in here, and we're going to do func clear bounce flag, and we're going to do the same thing. So bounce equals false. Bar bounce. No. Bool equals that. And then return bounce. And that way this will get queried every frame. And if it bounces, it will set it. Now the other way you could do this is you could use a signal, and in player you could listen for the signal, set a field, and then clear that field after you've applied it. But I'm just doing it here. Again, so many different ways you can do things, and a lot of it The right way is always dependent on the context. In a jam where you're time limited, the right way is whatever way you can get it done fastest without it tying your hands too much. And usually that's the messiest way from a maintainability standpoint, but you rarely are maintaining jam code. Jams are basically prototypes. You usually throw them away, and if it's a good idea, you generally remake it from scratch with better legs to stand on. Okay, and then we'll do that, and we'll go ahead and make this bounce area component. Oh, right. Okay, there we go. So now all this is going to do is bounce you the moment you touch it, which isn't great. The better way to do this would be to detect the angle you entered it. But for that, you have to query the physics state. And for now, I don't want to get into that. So we're just going to have it do a direct bounce straight up. And I'm just going to try and cleverly model it so that you can't hit it from the side and get shot straight up. Okay, so now let's do a new scene. I think I'm also going to have this be a rigid body. And we're going to say this is a bouncy ball or exercise ball prop. Not like I really need a mesh instance for this, but then we're going to need a bounce area component. Collision shape. Okay. So for this, I actually think what I want to do... Well, I think I will do a sphere shape, but we'll see. We're also going to do a sphere shape there. I don't know, set it to like 1. And the mesh instance. We're going to go into the meshes and create new resource. We'll do a sphere mesh and we'll do exercise ball. All right, radius 1, height 2. And we're just going to load the orange material for now. Okay, so in here we will load that. And now what I want to do is actually ever so slightly move this up. And I'm actually going to shrink it a little bit. We'll do it like 0.9. There we go. So it still kind of follows the curvature of the ball, but it's not the whole ball that bounces. Although I just realized it's a... Yeah, actually I just realized something. The whole thing's a rigid body, so it can actually move over. Unless I do something to make this always point upright. That is possible. Can I lock this thing's rotation on this particular... I don't think you can do that. I know you can do that on the prop itself, but I don't want to lock its rotation. Okay. There is something I can do. We'll see if this works. So if I make this node top level and I move this under it, these will not move from wherever they spawn now. But now if I add in a copy transform modifier, apply the copy transform, oh no, not that one. Remote transform. Pushes its own transform to another node derived in the scene. Okay. So we're going to push it to this area. And we're only going to push position. Okay. Well, actually, that's not the one I wanted to push. I want to push it to the node. And that is the bounce zone. That's what we're going to call that. And then this we're going to move up slightly. Okay. So now that should move with it. So we're going to go into scenes, props. We're going to do a new folder for exercise ball and save that there. And then we're going to do a new scene. We're going to call this exercise ball placeholder. And we're going to do a mesh instance and load the exercise ball in and then override it to the placeholder. And of course, then we're going to go over to the items and we're going to duplicate the hover couch and do exercise ball. Okay. So for placeholder, we're going to do exercise ball placeholder. And I think I'm going to do like 200 with that. And then of course in the store, I need to add that. Okay. So that should work, but now the player actually needs a component for that. So we need a bounce component. And we'll just move that up there. And we'll add a collision shape under it. And for this, we're going to probably do just a sphere. And we're going to move that up a bit. Just so that it's still on the ground. Yeah. So it's slightly around the base of the player. Actually, what are the other options? Yeah, okay. That's fine. So we'll do that. And then we'll access his unique name. And then we'll do bounce. Okay. So then up here in player, we're going to grab a reference to our bounce component. And then we are going to just add that down here. Plus bounce component dot clear. Well, do var bounce velocity float equals 0.0. If bounce component dot clear bounce flag, bounce velocity equals whatever. Okay, so our bounce velocity actually, you know what? We'll just do clear bounce velocity. And we'll just add that here. So we'll do export var bounce velocity float equals, we'll do 16 to start with. So okay, so if bounced var velocity float equals 0.0. If bounced velocity equals bounce velocity, else, well, actually, I guess we don't need to do anything else. And then we'll set bounce to false and return velocity. Okay. So then in player, we just need get. Oh, I forgot to actually rename it. Oh, wait, no, that's right. So we'll just call dot bounce component dot clear bounce velocity. There we go. Okay. So now we find out if that worked. Okay, it does bounce you. But it doesn't do it from the side. Well, okay. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, you know what? I know why that happened. What I don't know is why this did not move. That is a rigid body. Why did that have no gravity? That's an interesting one. It's just hung there in midair. Okay. All right, well, on the player, there's one thing I need to change. That is slightly wider than the player. I actually need it to be slightly smaller. And I need to move that down so that there's no possible way you can bounce by just being near it. Okay, what? Why are these? Oh, they are fall. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is. Why can I bounce into that? I mean, I guess that's fine, but you shouldn't be able to just jump from the side. There's something wrong, I think, with the size of this collision shape. I'm going to shrink it down to like 0.8. We're going to put it right there. See if that fixes it. Yeah, okay. I see what the problem is now, though. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a little bit weird that you can kind of bounce at it from the side, but it does work. Yeah, okay, and it looks like the always on top thing also works too. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is legitimately a strategy. You could bounce up and then place a couch, but the risk you do is that now you might not be able to get back up there. Yeah, so that's always the risk. And I think I like that. So you could, for instance, do this. So yeah, you could place the bouncy ball. You could place a chair next to it. And then you could bounce on it. And then you could get up here. Ah, yeah. So you have to be really careful that you don't accidentally place it in a way that you can't get back up to it. Okay. Well, that seems to work. All right. Well, I'm going to say that that is all of the gameplay elements in. So at this point, it's literally just down to needing to build the level. Okay. This is where I really this is the part that I really should have had done earlier. I think what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to add another CSG shape, and we're going to do a sphere. We're going to make this a lot bigger. Whoa. Okay. And then we're going to use some non-uniform scale. Oops, wrong one. Some non-uniform scaling. We're going to bring that down. And we're going to bring down the segments a lot. Bring down the rings a bit too. Okay. My thought is that the entire level is going to be surrounded in a fence or something. And so we're going to extend this way out, this ground box. We're going to do like 50 by 50. Yeah. Okay. We're going to move the player over to like here or something. And we're going to move this cell zone somewhere where it's in line of sight whenever the player spawns. Okay. And we're going to get rid of that golden apple. We're going to just keep the one that's up here, but we're going to move it way up. And then the fruits, I'm going to add a child for that, and we're going to do just a node 3D and just call it fruits. And we're going to put them in there. Actually, I'm going to change that to just a plain node. Never mind. I'm going to leave it as a nodes 3D. I'm going to leave one instance of each in there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want the first one to be just out of reach, but we're going to put a chair like immediately under it so that it's easy to get to it. So we'll do something like that. I'm not really sure right now how I'm going to handle the shape of the tree. So we're going to call this a base. So this is like the ground. All right, so then we're going to add a CSG. We're going to do probably a cylinder. And I don't know how many does the base have? The base has 9 radial segments. Okay, so then we're going to bring the height way up. Okay, so I need, we'll call that trunk. Actually, I'm going to do a CSG combiner for that. We're gonna put the trunk under there. Okay. And then we're going to add in a chair. And because you can't move chairs once they're spawned in, having the chair here shouldn't stop you from grabbing, or shouldn't be possible to soft lock yourself. Oh, I'm facing the wrong way. How did that happen? Oh. Okay, never mind. I see how that happened. All right, so then we're going to grab the chair and the basic fruit, and we're going to move them over to here. And grab the basic fruit and just move it back a bit. It's kind of hard to judge if that's high enough up that you need the chair to reach it. It's a little too high, actually. But this looks good in terms of the size of the tree. Yeah, okay. So let's move that fruit down a little bit. I want it to be just high enough that you can't reach it by jumping. Yeah, but jumping on the chair, it's no problem. Then you can do that. Okay, well that is one problem with having this sloped base. I guess this is to kind of teach you that you can place these in different orientations, maybe. Yeah, okay, there you go. Then you can do that and do that. So then there might be a branch that's a little bit lower. Okay, yeah. One thing I want to check. I think there's a CSG for a mesh, and I believe you can apply. I think is the cylinder mesh here? Yes. This one tapers. That's what I wanted. Okay, so on this one I have 9. All right, bottom radius that. Height is that. And we'll do top radius as like 3. All right, and then transform wise, we're looking at 7 and a negative 10 degree rotation. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, that looks better. Okay, so then the next thing I need is a fence or some kind of blocker to keep you from getting out of the level. So this introduces that the fruit does that. Oh, I also need to move the sign. I think I'm going to keep it right there. One thing I don't like is that whenever you spawn in, you already have this visible. I think I might check and say if you don't have enough money, it's just not visible. Yeah, so whenever you spawn in, you can see that. I might move it a little bit closer to the tree. Okay. Yeah, okay. So yeah, you can kind of stack your way up here like that. So I think I want the next fruit like over there or something up against the tree so that you have to stack up against it. Yeah, okay. I like it. All right. So we're going to grab another one of these and we're going to move it somewhere to like right there. Put it a little bit higher up. And I do want to start incorporating branches out here. I'm going to start to add those in, I think, towards the end. I'm going to move that a little closer. I'm also going to rotate this a bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, so you can't just jump on one with that. You have to get up higher. At least a little bit higher. Yeah, all right. Okay, so then you get up to there. I think I want a branch over here that you can jump on because I want to start getting you up into the tree. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to just copy this mesh. We'll do a new CSG mesh. And we're going to do a cylinder mesh. And same thing, we're going to bring radial segments down to like 9. Or honestly, on this one, probably like 5. Bring it out here, bring it up there. We'll do the bottom radius is like 1. And the top radius is probably 0.5. And we'll rotate that a bit. All right, we'll bring that over. And then we'll add another mesh. And then this one will start with, make unique. This one will start with 0.5. And the top will do like 0.1. And we're going to drag it out. Actually might be easier on this one to just make it taper to 0.1 instead. We'll make the height like 5 long, maybe. Yeah, it might be the easier way to do that. Okay, let's see if I can actually get up to that. I want to make sure that you have enough fruit that you can get up there even without okay, well that didn't work. Yeah, that's not working as well as I'd like. Okay. One thing. Okay, actually, I have an idea. I'm going to bring this one over to here. We're going to rotate it a bit. We're gonna bring it out. And yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this, bring it over to here, and we're gonna rotate it a bit, and we're gonna bring it up. Rotate it probably a little bit more. And we're actually going to grab that and that. And we're going to move them. Probably like that. And I'm going to make this one unique. And we're going to probably make the top radius a little bit wider. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so you have to grab that one. And then there's this one here, which you need to grab. So you can place a chair there. And then you can place a chair there. And then place more chairs. All right, and then that gets you enough to get a couch. Which is apparently not enough to get up there. Dang it. Yeah, that's kind of striking again. Okay, I think this needs to move ever so slightly this way. Yeah, I have to admit, it's a little frustrating already. It's very fiddly, and that's definitely not what I was going for. Okay, so you can stack that up. That's enough to get up to here. Okay, and that gets you up to there. Yeah, okay, so you can get up to that point. And then you can potentially stack a chair here. Yep, okay, so you can do that. And then I can stack another one on top of it. Yeah, and they can get over to there. Okay. We're starting to get somewhere. Yeah, okay, we're starting to get somewhere. It is starting to feel more and more like it might be a game. Granted, a very bad one, but a game nonetheless. Okay. So I like that. That sequence kind of worked. So you can get up to there. I kind of want to give a branching path though. So we're going to do another CSG mesh. We're going to copy it. We're going to bring it over to here. We're going to probably bring it up. I'm going to bring this one in, I think, a lot. I'm also going to angle it some. Yeah, okay. So we'll do that, and then we'll again make this unique, and we'll probably change the top radius to be more pointed. And we're going to bring this one down a little bit, I think. Because this one is a little bit difficult to get to, honestly. Honestly, this kind of is too. Well, yeah, I don't really want to bring that down. Okay, so we're going to copy this fruit. We're going to bring that over to here. And this one, I'm kind of tempted to bring out to the end. So it's more like out here. Or we could bring it down a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I like that because it's not really technically necessary to get it, to get up to the other platform, but it could be something you choose to get for the points. And I evidently did not actually copy that. Huh. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna bring that down a little bit and bring it back to there. Okay. Yeah, so you can't grab that one, you can't grab that one. So you have to learn to place the chairs. Which I am doing a horrible job of. Okay. Yeah, so this first one, you kind of place as many as you can, basically. Okay, so then I'm up there. Oh, that's not enough. So then I need to place another chair. Okay, so then you place a chair up here, you get over to there. And you might place one here. Okay, so you do that, and then that gets you almost far enough. One thing I think I might want to do is add some indication that the hover couch hovers. God dang it. I'm thinking I might put the name of the item that's currently hovered over in the HUD so that you can tell that like the hover couch is a hovering couch and not just a couch, because I'm worried that people are going to see that and not realize that it's actually a thing. Okay, so both of these I'm going to bring ever so slightly closer and ever so slightly further down, just to make that a little bit easier, because that's intended to be your easy one to get to after you get all that money from the first one. And you can also reset it. And my point with the reset is that that's mostly to prevent soft locking, but you could use it as a strategy. So you could also deliberately reset and go out of your way to I still feel like I'm hitting the ground when I shouldn't be. Okay, so we're going to do this. What the heck? Why are these all falling now? Oh. Okay, so yeah, so you can get that one, and then you can jump back over to here. And see, if you know what you're doing, you can do this and get over to here like that. Or you could have placed a couch and you could have used it as a ramp. Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure the game's not too difficult. That is a common problem in game jams, is that if you make your game too difficult, nobody's going to enjoy it. So I want to make sure that it's not a crazy difficult experience. But these first three, they feel decently okay. All right. So let's see where I want to go from here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a much... Yeah, I think what's going on is the CSGs are... Because these are all joined, they're getting a little scrambled. Okay. So I do want another one over there. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to just bring it over to here. And I'm going to rotate it. And we're going to just move it back there. We're going to put that lower. And then we're going to copy another one. And we're going to make unique on this. And actually, we're going to do that with this one too. Okay, so on this one, we're going to do bottom radius that's even bigger. And top that's big. And go really far out. Okay. And we're going to go over to here. And we're going to also make this one unique. Honestly, it does not look much like a tree, but whatever. We're going to copy that. We're going to make unique. And we're going to set the top radius and the bottom radius the same. There we go. That's what I was trying to do earlier. Let's just bring that in a little bit. And we're going to make the top radius a little smaller. Yep, there we go. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do for leaves. I'm thinking I'm either going to do a bunch of billboards or just some flat textures, or I might even just have a bunch of brown leaves on the ground and just say that it's fall. When all else fails, blame it on the seasons. I mean, I'm joking, but that is actually a legitimate strategy, is that if you're ever in a position where it's like, I don't know how to do this, or this is going to be a problem, it is never a bad option to just make up a narrative reason. Yeah, it might not be the most cohesive thing in the world, but it's a good quick out that will save you time and avoid potentially having to deal with a really complex technical problem that you don't want to deal with. And if that avoids the problem and it doesn't make gameplay worse, then it's not a bad solution. Okay, now this one I want to be a little bit riskier with. And we're just going to ignore the fact that a lot of fruits that do not grow on trees are growing on this tree, but whatever. Okay, and then we're going to come over here to this one, and we're going to make this a child of it. We're going to slide that up, and we're going to make this unique. And same thing, we're going to make that the bottom radius. Make it way, way shorter. Shrink that down. We're going to move it up. And we're going to add a little bit of rotation. Yeah, this looks really jank, but we're gonna just roll with it. I'm hoping that once you're in game, it won't really be noticeable to see all the parts that aren't actually connecting correctly. Oh no. Okay. I need to put somewhere around here, I think, where it's going to be beneficial to use the bouncy ball. I'm kind of wondering if this isn't the right time right here. Which I think it's too big, I will say. That works pretty well. I think I need to make that more expensive though. But I do like the idea that you can place it. But I think the problem right now is that that bouncy ball is way, way too big. So let's open up the mesh for the exercise ball. Let's do like 0.75. 1.5. So let's reopen those. Yeah, okay, so the collision shape here, we're gonna do 0.75. And the bounce zone, we're gonna bring that down to like 0.6. And bring that in a little closer. I definitely think that bouncy ball is way, way too cheap though. Yeah, okay, so now I come over here. I can resell that, and now I can get a bouncy ball. Or I might make it slightly less bouncy, actually. Because if it's this bouncy, you're going to be able to get all the way to the top of the tree in no time. And I don't have time to build a level that's a heck of a lot taller than this. Maybe about twice this size, about as big as I can go. I'd say it should be enough to bounce you up to that. So let's go into here. And on the bounce component, we're just going to change it in its code because this is unreasonable. Change it to like 8. And actually, one other thing I'm going to do on the level, I'm going to grab one of the really expensive fruit. And we're going to actually just move that back here for testing. We're going to put it over to the side here. Okay. All right, let's see. Is this... Wait, what? Really? Huh, okay. I guess that needs to be a lot more bouncy. Let's try 12. That is one problem, is when you're falling, it doesn't immediately reset your... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, actually, I really like the trade-off that the bouncy balls can roll. Because that means that they're, unless you are very certain with the placement, they're just going to roll away. And that makes it a lot harder to abuse them. You basically have to choose, are you going to use this thing that you might not be able to place exactly where you want? Because I can put one here, but it's just going to roll away. This one is fine, but it can't offer that big of a benefit. I think the biggest benefit would be you place one, then you place a couch, slightly tilted, I think. Yeah, so you do that. Uh-oh. I should not have placed it at the apex of my jump. So, okay, you place a bouncy ball, and then you've got your couch. Okay, I don't know why sometimes you don't bounce all the way. Okay, so then you do that. And of course I didn't have enough items. Yeah, so you could abuse that. Okay. But that would also be a very expensive thing to do, and you wouldn't have a lot of points. So I think I probably need to boost the value of points. That's something I'll need to look into that for the balancing. But yeah, the ball works a lot better that way. And let me come over here to the level, and let me add a couple more of these fruits over here. There we go. That way I've got plenty for testing. Okay, so my thought is that I'm curious if this works. So you place the bouncy ball, then you do something like that. Okay. Yeah, so you almost can't do that. I think the only way you'd be able to do that is if you could make this work. Yeah, like you can kind of make it work, but it's not easy. So you'd have to do something like this maybe, and then put the bouncy ball there. Okay, let me try that again. So you bounce on the bouncy ball, we put the I put that too high up. Yeah, see, that's also part of the problem with that strategy, is that unless you do it perfectly, you're gonna tank your times anyways. Okay, so my thought is that you kind of put the chair like that maybe, or like this. Okay, and then yeah, see, it's not easy even to get the bouncy ball to stay. Yeah, that is definitely a risky strategy, I would say, with these things. One thing I think I will do though is on the ball, I'm gonna make it heavier. I'm gonna make it like maybe even 3 kilograms. I want it to have more inertia so it's less inclined to roll. Okay. Yeah, okay. So you get a little more time with it. Okay, so one problem. I'm gonna say if we're gonna say var bounce velocity float equals 0.0 if, or well, I don't need to do that, I can just do this, but I want to say if bounce velocity is greater than 0.0, then we're going to zero out that. Well, actually what we're going to say is and velocity.y is less than 0.0. We're going to basically zero it out so that you get a better bounce. All right, so let's check this out. Yeah, I think that's why the bounce wasn't as consistent before. All right, so now I can bring the bounce velocity down a lot. I can probably have that back at 8 like I originally wanted. That's actually still pretty low, I will say. Let's bring it up to 10. Yeah, this feels good. You always bounce back up to the same height now. Oh, what the heck? Okay. This feels pretty good. All right. I think at this point, all of the major stuff is worked out. The only thing I need to do at this point is add in some polish to the game, like some sound effects. I'm going to grab some background music. I'm probably just going to attach the background music to main. Actually, speaking of that, I do need to add the other audio buses. It occurred to me I never actually implemented that. So music, and then we will add SFX. I forget. Let me look at how I've done this before. There is a specific way, I think in Spectarier somewhere. I think in main is where I had this. Let's see, music. No, it's not in there. Where did I put that? Is it an auto load? Yeah, music manager. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy this code from Spectarier and I'm gonna chuck it in main, which is already kind of bloated, but whatever. Deal with it. So actually, I take that back. I'm gonna put this code in the settings manager, auto load. So we're gonna go into the settings manager. And we're gonna chuck that down there. Okay, so update bus volume. Then we have music volume, SFX volume, and then I also need one for master. Okay. Cool. So now that should actually do something. Speaking of which, in main, I'm going to go ahead and add an audio stream player. Just the regular one. And we are going to find some audio. So I've got quite a few options here for audio. I've got some ambient tracks. Abstraction is usually my go-to bundle. Let me see if there's anything in 3 Red Hearts that sounds good. That one's not bad. I want something kind of casual. Ooh, that's pretty good. Okay, that's a good candidate right there. That and Sanctuary. Sanctuary maybe is a little less. Not feeling that one. Probably love Princess Quest, no boing. Oh, Pixel War, I use that for maximum voltage. A little too high energy. A little too serious. A little too serious again. Yeah, I also use that one for maximum voltage. I really like puzzle pieces. Okay, let's do puzzle pieces. So we will do a audio folder. If I can spell that right. Okay. And that, what is that in? Is that, let me see. Is this an AUG already, or is this a wave? Okay, it's good. It's already an AUG. All right, so I'm going to rename that to The red hearts. Puzzle pieces. Okay. And we're gonna chuck that on there. And we're going to have this start playing probably after the splash is done, but for the moment, I'm just gonna set it to autoplay. I'm gonna put it on music. I'm gonna bring this down a lot, like -8 dB, because I tend to find that the music in Godot, you know what, even more, -16. Music in Godot is really loud by default. So let's see. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I think this works. I might add some like wind ambience or something too to accompany it, but I think this works so far. So I'm gonna call that good with the music. I'll probably add in some logic that just says that whenever the splash screen plays and finishes for the first time, it will start the audio player. That way it's not trying to play during the splash. And the splash usually is just an animation player, is literally all it is. And I tend to not add it until the very end because it's annoying for debugging. But I think I'm going to call it here. I want to spend some time working on the level. I would have liked to have done more of this on stream, but I'm going to be honest, I am so out of time at this point that I really need to crunch. So I'm going to work on this for probably the next hour. I don't think the tree is going to be much bigger than it is. I'm just going to grab probably a solid color texture, or I'm going to use one of the wood sample textures I've scanned. Like I said, I like the checkerboard look, so I'm probably going to keep that and just add a bounding box around the area, build that up, probably add Q and E in the heads-up display alongside the quick select bar so that you know what to press. And yeah, so mostly just some ease of use, things like that. And I'm obviously going to adjust the scoring as well. And then, yeah, like the tree, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that because it doesn't look great at the moment. But I'm going to be honest, this is probably going to be a half-finished game. This is really not quite living up to what I had intended, but I don't think realistically I'm going to finish the full thing. If I had taken a little more time, a few more hours, I think I could have pulled it off, but unfortunately was just not really feeling up to it this jam. Yeah, I'm going to finish the rest off stream and get this submitted, and I might do some more content. I'll probably do a video after the results are out as kind of like a post-mortem. But I'm going to call it there. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.